Good morning, good morning. Welcome to Wednesday, another sunny day in the south of England. Oh, just a bird nearly flew in the kitchen then. That would have been exciting, wouldn't it? Looks like starlings, yeah. As soon as I put the fat balls out in the bird feeder, the starlings come down like a group of annoying teenagers. Anyway, good morning, good morning. As always, if you are watching, do please pop a hello in the comments. Welcome to Wednesday. I hope it is sunny where you are. There you go, Wednesday. Time goes, doesn't it? It's June, for goodness sake. Where's this year gone? Good morning, Jay. Good morning, Janet. Yeah, I can't believe it's June, actually. That's just madness. Absolute madness. Right, let's turn my phone because it's buzzing and stuff. Although I have got a very cool notification thing on there at the moment, but there you go. Good morning, Kerry from sunny Clonenny. Good morning. Good morning, Karen. Yes, as you can see from the Eric cam, it's very warm. The cushion out on the patio is for Eric. That's his, he likes to move in and out. Out for a bit of a bake and then back in again. Good morning, Emma. Good morning, Karen. Busy, busy, busy here. That's what's happening in Patterson. Chaos at the moment. Good morning, Rachel. Yeah, life's a bit chaotic and twirly at the minute. Good morning, Debbie. Cold and overcast. We'll send some sun your way, Debbie. Yeah, complete blue sky. Not a cloud to spoil the view. There's a song, isn't it? Good morning, Jane. Welcome to Wednesday. Jane, it's hedge riding today. Subject of the day is hedge riding. One of my favourite things. Good morning, Colin. And Colin's cat. Good morning. It is summer, right? It is summer here. We got sunshine here. Apparently there's rain at the weekend, but you know. Good evening, Sephora from Chile, Southern Hemisphere. Yeah, it's probably not, what we consider chilly, but I expect you guys to. Debbie's not jealous. I sent it some your way. Whoopie-doo, says Jane. Hedge riding. Yeah, it is a fascinating subject. We're only going to skirt the edges of it today. There is a lesson on it though, Jane, in the school. There is a proper lesson. Going to make you actually do it in the lesson. So welcome. Yes, hedge riding is the subject for today. I'm a bit of a space cowboy today. Got so many things going on in my head. Good morning, Janet. Sephora, probably right. Our Chile is just an overcast day. In the UK, yes, probably. Sephora's in New Zealand. Yes, so hedge riding today. One very important thing to say before we start, and I can't remember what date it is now. Is it Saturday or Sunday? See, I told you, total space cowboy today. Saturday the 10th. This Saturday, 10th of June, 7 p.m. UK time. We are on BST, British Summer Time at the moment. On my YouTube channel, on my author Facebook page, I'm going to be doing a book launch for the Gods and Goddesses of England. It comes out at the end of this month. I will be doing a talk about the Gods and Goddesses of England, unsurprisingly. And I'll do a book giveaway while I'm doing the chat as well. So that's this Saturday, the 10th, 7 p.m. UK time. Do please join me. Oh, there's a linky there. Thank you for that. Good morning, Eva. Good morning, Helen. Good morning, Maria. Helen, and a wedding anniversary today. Off to the tip later. That's a very exciting way to spend your wedding anniversary. Then spending the day at the beach. Oh, that's much better. Happy anniversary. Oh, thank you for 6 a.m. Oh, yeah, time zones make my head explode. Good morning, Andrea. So yes, that's this Saturday. For anyone that is going to pagan tribal gathering, third week of June. Oh, see, I told them spaced, totally spaced. 22nd-ish. Myself and the girls will be there. We're running a workshop. I'm doing a talk. We're doing a red tent as well. Fabulous weekend. Amazing energy, amazing people. So do come along if you are free that weekend. It is ticket only, and there's literally a handful of tickets left. That's Pagan Tribal Gathering. Looking forward to that. Good morning, Maharet. So here we go. Hedge riding. Does anybody here do hedge riding? Do any of you work with hedge riding? Kerry, I'll be there with Ebony. Oh, do come up and say hello, Kerry, because I'm rubbish with names and faces. So do make a point of saying hello to me and tell me who you are. I'm a bit rubbish. Colin says, Madam is playing havoc, running in and out. It's sunny day here at the Clonenny Community Partnership. That's Colin's cat, bless her. Yeah, does anybody hedge ride? Do you know about hedge riding? You've tried hedge riding? Oh, thank you. There's a link to Pagan Tribal Gathering. Thank you. That's Peter the Pixie behind the screens. Don't wash your feet on camera. It's not polite. Wait, it is just his feet. You washing your feet? What you doing? Hey, you good boy. He does like sitting in the sun. Sephora, total newbie to the subject. Eva, I do journeying and path working. Still working on my lesson. Similar, but different. Colin, don't know what hedge riding is. Oh, you will by the end of this, Colin. Jane, I feel like I'm permanently perched on the hedge, always spaced out and always forgetting to ground and close things down. Good morning, little Miss Nemo. Have you got cuckoos in your area? No, I've not heard any. We have lots of birds. We have pigeons, starlings, sparrows, blackbirds. We do have a pair of magpies, who are very noisy. It might have been them that you heard. You done? Yeah, but yeah, too hot for Eric now. Too hot. Okay, Debbie, tried hedge riding with a strimmer once when the ladder went down a mole hole. We won't be talking about that kind of hedge riding. So let's start on the idea of what actually hedge riding is. Now, although I call myself a kitchen witch, I do work a lot as a hedge witch. Again, similar, but not the same. A hedge witch basically has one foot in this world, in our reality, and the other foot in the other world, underworld. So it's probably not a good day for me to be explaining something complicated. Let's start that again. A hedge witch has one foot in this world and the other foot in the underworld. That's better. Hedge riding is a term used to describe the journeys that a hedge witch makes. Oh dear me. I apologise. Oh, and now the dog's gone out. Do you know one of those days? Do you want to go up here? Come on. Honestly, don't show everybody your butt. Sit down. There you go. Let's try this. God, honestly. Real TV presenters wouldn't have this problem. Little Miss Nemo, when I tuned in, I thought I heard something cuckooing in the background. It's the pigeons. I think it's the pigeons. We do have a lot of pigeons. Which is another topic. I'm not sure I deal with any topic very well today. Right, let's do this. Okay, so a hedge witch works with hedge riding. It's a term used to describe the journeys. It is actually very shamanic. It is very similar, in fact, to the otherworld journeys that a shamanic practitioner makes. Whew. That's a hedge witch. That's a hedge witch that does hedge riding. Oh dear. So let's have a look at the hedge. The hedge is a symbolic boundary between the worlds. Hedge riding is the journey that your spirit takes into the other world or the underworld realms. I use the terms otherworld and underworld kind of one and the same, really. It depends what you want to call them. Sometimes the underworld realms are called the upper and the lower realms, with the middle realm being where we are now. It will make sense, honestly. It's called hedge riding because that hedge is the boundary. If you think about a hedge in the fields, it is a boundary between different fields. It is that liminal in-between space. And I've mentioned liminal in-between spaces before, where the ocean meets the sand. If you are familiar with... sorry, I'm just in a magpie sitting on the fence right in front of me. Morning. If you are familiar with the Labyrinth film with David Bowie and his spandex, all of the gnomes, the elves, the underworld creatures, they sit in the doorways because a doorway is a liminal space. It is a place in between rooms. So liminal spaces are very magical, and the hedge is a liminal space. It is a boundary between the fields in the physical world, but in the other worlds, it is a boundary between our reality and the other realities. There, I knew I'd explain that eventually. Good morning, Sue. Karen, did a lot of hedge riding in the 90s, not so much now, although I do use visualization a lot. I think it is a fascinating thing to do. Emma, I am having a bit of a day, and it's only 9:10. Yeah. Eva, Bowie's codpiece. Goddess bless Bowie's codpiece. Debbie, where the sunset meets the horizon. Absolutely. Sunrise, sunset, liminal spaces. There is something very magical about those. So what hedge riding does, it can take your spirit, your soul, your whatever you want to call it, inner self, traveling. It can go back into the past. It can connect with your ancestors. You can meet and talk with your past selves. There is the upper realm, which can provide you with connections to your spirit guides, to your teachers, to the divine. I don't mean school teachers. I mean spiritual teachers. Then there is the lower realm, which can take you on journeys to find animal spirit guides, plant spirit guides, and to meet the souls of those that have passed over. So it is really, think of it as three worlds. And I think of it as a tree. So you have the roots, which is the underworld. You have the trunk, which is the middle world where we are. And then you have the branches, which is the upper world. It's not something to be taken lightly. We teach hedge riding in the Kitchen Witch School, but we don't teach it till one of the later levels. It is something that you need a bit of experience before you take on board. It's not something to be taken lightly. It definitely isn't somewhere to just visit because you're bored, because you want something to do. It's something to be taken very seriously. And I do find that journeys should be taken with a particular question or a mission in mind. If you are seeking healing, if you're seeking the answer to a question, if you need some help with guidance with some spell work or to find some spiritual enlightenment of some sort, you need to have a purpose, a reason for going there. It's not just a I'm bored, let's hang out and chat kind of place. I think it should be undertaken by those who have a full and good experience of witchcraft and the shamanic type work. It isn't something to be attempted by those that are just starting on this pathway, I don't think, in my personal experience anyway. It takes you quite deep, and you have to have the experience to know how to deal with what or who you meet and how to get yourself back out again. So I do think it takes, do it when you are a bit experienced, but it is a fascinating thing to do. Also something to avoid if you're feeling unwell or if you're having any mental health issues, because you are literally taking yourself into other realms. Easy to get lost in there. If you've worked with the art of astral travel, you'll probably find the hedge riding a bit easier as well. Good morning, Shell. Sue, change of subject. Your hair looks beautiful today. Thank you. I washed it this morning and brushed it. That's all I've done to it. Thank you. You're ethereal being. I'm something being this morning, Debbie. I don't know what it is. Good morning, Karen. I'm not sure where I am at the moment. I think I left a bit of myself in the other worlds, that's for sure. Let's get. Jane, I was taken on a journey by someone who didn't think chocolate was good for grounding. Is he right or is he bonkers? Bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. Everyone has their own ways of doing things. If you have been journeying like hedge riding is quite different to just doing a meditation. It takes you much, much deeper. And on a journey, you go there for a specific purpose. The same as with hedge riding. So you are taken quite deep. So you may need quite a substantial amount of grounding when you come back out. So chocolate would be good, but I would also do a chocolate. I would also do a chocolate grounding exercise. I would eat chocolate, but also do a proper grounding exercise as well. Chocolate is very good for grounding. But everyone has their own, way of doing things. Everyone has their own thoughts. There's no right or wrong here. Bonjour, Cornelia. Bonjour. Ça va? Karen. Started getting too noisy and confused in there for me, so I stopped. It's possible I was doing it too much at the time. Again, it is something that should be done very mindfully. You don't want to be hedge riding twice a day. You would literally lose part of yourself in the world, which can happen, absolutely. It needs to be something specific. Sephora, so it's different from psychic interaction. Yes, absolutely. I am a trained psychic medium, and that is something very different. You are connecting with the souls of those who have passed. This one is about traveling into other worlds to make connections with animal spirit guides, plant spirit guides, the divine. Sometimes you meet spirit world there, but it's not specifically for that. It is quite a different thing. You go there seeking help, guidance. I do it a lot when I want to connect with a plant spirit. You can do it for soul healing. You can do it for healing for other people. It's quite deep, but it is different from connecting with the spirit world. Good morning, Paul. Jane, went to my first seance last week. Not 3 times. Mustn't tease. Found myself channeling a kitchen maid called Bab. I felt absolutely drained afterwards, was told to eat something. It took 2 pancake rolls and a good night's kip to get me out of it. It can be very, very draining. Yeah, absolutely. Any type of energy work, whether you are working with a spell, whether you are connecting with the spirit, takes energy. It uses up energy. And it can leave you feeling very jittery and very out of yourselves. So grounding is seriously important. Yeah, definitely. Colin, I knew a druid who was lost in the Fae for a week. The fairy world's a whole other thing. Yeah, you can get lost in that too. Maria's been lost for years. Today I know the feeling, Maria. So it is quite a shamanic thing. It also incorporates the art of seer work, in that you communicate with beings from the other worlds. Depending on your particular journey, it may also include some form of shape-shifting. When you are very experienced, hedge riding is very useful to use for soul retrieval. But you have to be very experienced to do that. That's shamanic work that very trained people do. It is possible to do it in hedge riding, but definitely leave it to those that are very well trained. During your journey, your spirit, your conscious, it's going to travel to the other worlds. I think it is really important to open all your senses. You need to take note of symbols, of signs, sounds, scents. All of them may be important for your journey. But I think that's probably good advice for any kind of pathworking journeying of any kind, is to take note of everything that all of your senses take in. It is a trance state, so you have to be in that trance, that altered state of conscious, to be able to enter the other worlds. It is when your mind and spirit work separately from your actual physical body, and you need to be in that state before you're able to cross the hedge, as it were. Emma, I do shamanic journeying and I always have a reason in mind. Haven't done it a while due to illness though, and I miss it. You're very wise, Emma, very wise. It's not something to be taken on when you're not feeling well. Maria has the books on hedge riding. There are a few out there. I like to keep a little notebook, actually, for writing down afterwards any of the things, because it's very easy to forget once you come out of it. But while you're there, you are fully conscious. You're not unconscious. You're in that, we're back to liminal. You're in that liminal state, that in-between state. You are always fully aware of what you're doing. You are lucid, you are in control, but you're not asleep, if any of that makes sense. I would wholeheartedly not recommend getting into trance via the means of drugs or alcohol. There are lots of ways of taking onto trance without drugs or alcohol. I think they will affect the experience in a bad way. My personal opinion. Entirely up to you guys. I prefer to be totally in control. I'm a control freak. You have to make that decision. Personally, I wouldn't advise it, but there you go. At Sephora, sounds like an acid trip without the acid. Yeah, pretty much, because you are tripping, but you're in control of it all. Miss Nemo, fascinating topic, one I'd like to explore, but I'm aware that my menopausal sleep patterns would seriously hinder any kind of out-of-body journeying. Menopausal, hopefully coming to the end of it. I think we're probably about 8 years now that I've been in the perimenopause, hopefully coming to the end of it. You have to do it on a good day. Menopause has good and bad days. You have to do it on a good day. That's menopause is a whole other thing. But with this, you need to go past the state of meditation. You need to go past that onto the pathworking, journeying kind of trance to achieve hedge riding. I think drumming helps. I like to work with the drumming. It seems to get me into that right kind of frame of mind. Chanting can be really useful. Any kind of shamanic music with drums and rattles can also work quite well. You can simply listen to a tune. You can simply listen to the sound of your heartbeat. Whatever works for you, but it has to take you past that point of meditation. It can take a bit of practice. For me, it's drumming that works. But afterwards, I say write everything down, every small detail. Take note of everything. You don't need any equipment for it, just your mind. If it's in the right place. But you can use things if you want to. Rattles and drums, for instance, they can be used. As I say, drums for me take me into that trance state. But it has to be what works for you. I would advise a bit of preparation. Smudge your room, cleanse your room before you journey and yourself, so that you've got no negatives. Don't want to take any negatives with you. Many hedge witches and shamanic practitioners have a medicine bag. I call mine my journeying pouch. It's not a pouch really at all. It works for me, and if any of you are Star Trek fans, I'm going to go really nerdy now. If any of you are Star Trek fans and you've watched Star Trek Voyager, one of my favourites, good old Captain Janeway, think about Chakotay. He goes travelling to meet his animal spirit guides, and he has a little bundle. That's what I like. I like to think that's who I am when I'm doing it. Mine is just with tied up with a bit of string. It is a square of material. I'm going to try and open this without chucking it all on the floor, which will be interesting. It is just a square of material folded over. I'm going to tip everything out. It's a fat quarter. For anyone that does fabric, if you go into the material shops and ask for a fat quarter, that's what it is. And I've lined it, so it is. I'm going to hold this up. Literally a piece of material that I folded up. Now, inside of it, I have things that give me keys for journeying, for hedge riding, things that are important to me, things that work magically to help take me into that trance. So before I start my hedge riding, I will open my journey pouch, lay it out and lay the items out. So I have a bracelet here that has my wild boar on it. He is my main totem guide. I have some crystals here. I've got a smoky quartz. I've got a piece of selenite, blue lace agate, and they are just to help, the crystals that I feel help me connect with the other realms. I have a piece of sea glass because it involves emotions, and that to me is emotions. I have a button. Now, if anyone's watched my chat on button magic, the button is there to open doorways because buttons open things. I've got some various herbs. I've got bay leaves, I've got cinnamon, I've got rose leaves, I've got star anise, all to help make that transition into the other worlds. I've got a hagstone with a hole in it because the hole takes you to the other worlds. I have a couple of brooches. One is the RAF badge from my great uncle, and another one is a brooch from my grandmother. They are to help me connect with the spirit world. I also have a little dragon because my dragon journey is with me. That's to help me as well. And I have a brooch with King Arthur because to me, Avalon has a very strong connection to the other worlds. It has to be oh, I've got a feather as well. That's a magpie one, so that's for one of my other animal totems. It has to work for you. It has to be things that you associate with traveling, with journeying, with going into the other worlds. And I have that open in front of me. Sometimes I will be drawn to pick up one of those items and hold it in my hand while I am making the transition. It has to work for you. But you could use one of the little organza pouches that we use quite often for spell working. That would work as well. You could even use an envelope. I have mine in a piece of fabric so that I can open it right out and have the items in front of me to look at. Got to work for you. It's also a fluid kind of thing. Sometimes I will take items out, sometimes I will add items in. And for the most part, it just sits on my altar. Tie it up with a bit of suede. And then it just sits on my altar. I find that a visual and a tactile aid to the journeying. Right, I've missed some comment. Let's have a look. Don't get me started on the menopause. No, that's lots of menopause. Zephora. Is there a particular part of the day or moon cycle which aids with the process? I think it has to help, has to again work with you. The dark moon is very good for it, as is the full moon. I tend to find evenings better. However, when it's really sunny, you can sit outside and lose yourself in that as well. But I do find for me the evening is better. Again, it's a personal thing. Kerry's been menopausal for about 14 years. Oh, let's not. I hear you. Debbie says Native American flute music works very well. Good morning, Hannah. Apparently certain drum rhythms change the way the brain works. Absolutely, which for me, I think is why drumming works for it. It does take you into that other state of mind. The drum beat replicates your heartbeat. You can tune into your heartbeat if you prefer, if you can hear that loud enough. It is about slowing everything down, and the drum beat works really well for that. Morning, Cars. Oh no, we don't want to be on the big telly. Eva, still weaving my pouch, hence the long way to finish my lesson. Yeah, even if you don't do hedge riding, having a journeying pouch is really good for shamanic journeys and path working. Menopause, bar humbug, yeah, absolutely. Jackie, good morning, Jackie. Fat Quartus and Chakotay, now you're speaking my language, quilts and Trek. Yeah, Star Trek, Stargate Atlantis particularly. But yeah, I do like Star Trek Voyager. But I love that Chakotay has his travelling pouch. He has a stone and some other bits and pieces. It's got a little bit of an electronic gizmo in there too, which is cheating, Chakotay. But yeah, it works. I was very impressed when I first saw that. Eva, yes, there are scientific studies on the drum beat changing. It is very good for changing your reality, for want of a better word. Jane, use a brilliant self-hypnosis CD to turn me into a blob of liminal jelly. Tried to get more copies from. Oh, no longer trading. That's a bit rubbish. Little Miss Nemo, would it be good practice to do hedge out-of-body journey work accompanied by someone who can act like a safety car and who can help you back out gently? If you aren't used to it, if you aren't very experienced with it, absolutely do it with someone that knows what they're doing. It is very easy to get lost in the other worlds, and it is, if you come out too quickly or too sharply, it can make you feel really, really rotten. So yes, absolutely. Good morning, Louise. Emma, buttons can also help to close the journey down too. Yes, because buttons are open and buttons close, so they open and close doorways. Maria, still have my pouch from the other year, but don't want to change it as it's a nice memory for me. Has to work for you. It absolutely has to work for you. This piece of material has gone through various incarnations for various things. I had it for a goddess course as well at one point, but at the moment it works as my journeying pouch. Hannah has done shamanic drum journeying a few times. The drum seems to lend itself to it very well. Jane, reading guided meditations from books doesn't work for me. I have to be read to. You and Sue have got the perfect voices for it. If you recorded all your meditations on CDs, I'd buy the lot. And I'm sure they'd sell massively if you marketed them. CDs are, I think, perhaps a little bit of dying breed. I did a proper recorded CD of meditations when Moon Magic first came out. I went into the studio and had the headphones and sat in a little box and all that professional stuff. It was terminally boring. There was a CD out then, but we sold out, funnily enough. I think these days it's more about downloading, which is why we do record meditations and put them on the Kitchen Witch YouTube channel. There are lots of recorded meditations on the Kitchen Witch YouTube channel for you to just listen to. I'm with you though, Jane. Guided meditations, they have to be spoken to me. I prefer it that way. Louise, I do like bells for yoga and meditation. Very nice. Yeah, I like bells. I think we've talked about sound baths before. Sound baths, I love the gong sounds. I'm not so keen on the crystal bowls. I find most of them quite grating, but it has to work for you. But this needs to take you beyond meditation. It needs to take you into trance. So it has to be something that takes you that step further. And that you're always on the big television here with my menopausal skin. Sephora, surprised no one's done a remake of Stargate Atlantis. Would be so good with the new tech nowadays. And yeah, I loved it, absolutely loved it. No, I'm not, Little Miss Nemo. I like Stargate Universe. Couldn't get on with that one. Shame it stopped, but it did end elegantly low. That's good. I didn't get on with that one, I must admit. Louise is a total control freak too. Yeah, I am. Maria, someone once said that if you have a teaspoon of salt before bed, it can aid in hedge riding as your body will leave for water. That sounds like quite a drastic thing to do. I'm not sure I could eat a teaspoon of salt. I'm not convinced on that one, Maria. I probably won't try that one. Karen, I like drumming for people to journey to, as well as having a drum journey myself, and gong bath. Gong baths are amazing to experience if they are done properly. They are fantastic. Louise, must listen to some of your meditations. I've got a couple on my YouTube channel, but most of them are over on the Kitchen Witch YouTube channel where the girls have recorded them. Hannah, it's always better to have a specific question in mind when going in. When you are hedge riding, it is a must. From my experience, you don't go there just to escape and to chill out. You hedge ride with a specific purpose in mind. You go there for a reason. Actually, I'll explain that in a second, because you don't necessarily go to the same place. There are different ways to go. Little Miss Nemo, fabric. Hello, fellow textile fibre peeps. You could use different motifs, prints for different pouch purposes if you can find them, especially organic cotton, but it can get pricey, which is why I go for the fat quarters, particularly around Halloween. That's where this piece came from. It's got skulls on it. I bought a batch of Halloween fat quarters from the fabric shop, and the material was all different and all fabulous and just about the right size too. Sephora, how can you tell if you've gone to sleep or gone for a journey? If you've gone to sleep, you're no longer in control. You're journeying, you are still in control. You are still aware of what's happening and what's going on. If you've fallen asleep, you're not aware what's going on anymore. Jane, we were pulled out of meditation too early once when I was having a cup of tea under a tree with my late nan. Poor Nan came running. Poor Nan came running after me, shouting, "Come back!" Tutor picked up on it and took me back under to pick up where we left off and finish properly. Good, very advisable. Very advisable. Right, want to go up? Come there. There you go. Sorry, he needs a blanket. Yes, it is never advisable to come out of journeying too early or abruptly. It can make you feel a bit rubbish. How about BSG? I don't know what that is. Hobby watched originally in the 80s and got me hooked onto the remake, but now they've remade that, much to the consternation of some of the cast. Yeah, I'm never sure about remakes. Trudy, morning. Walking down the tour. Oh, have a fab time. Good morning, Leslie. Debbie, it is all about the sound frequencies. Yes, with gong baths, sound baths, the crystal bowls, it's about frequency, and you have to get the right frequency for you. Eva, is it dangerous to fall asleep during hedge riding? What would happen? I haven't ever done it because I've found myself so focused on what I'm doing. You would have to, I think, take some steps to make sure that you put yourself back out of it once you've woken up. Cut any connections, cut any ties, pull yourself back, make sure that you have left completely. You're not going to explode or anything. You're not going to, get struck by lightning or anything. Dangerous? No. Just be mindful if you wake up and realise that you haven't completed the journey or pulled yourself back out properly. Just check. Do a whole check to make sure. Maria visited Bath the other day to visit Ren Bath. Oh, one of my favourite places. What an amazing place. Would love to meet Sulis. Obviously, could feel it everywhere. Very powerful indeed. Amazing place. Louise, have I missed the... I love your dress, chat. Thank you. Next sale last year, I think. Emma, struggled to follow a written meditation. I have a digital recorder, record myself saying them, mainly because it's easier for me personally. Love the meditation help on the YouTube channel. Meditation is very personal, has to work for you. I prefer listening to it read to me. I find I don't wander so far. Oh, Little Miss Battlestar Galactica. Okay, I haven't seen the remake. I saw the original, haven't seen the remake. No, not sure how I'd feel about that. Sephora, how to explain to other members of the household not to disturb you? For example, kids, no boundaries. Difficult to do when there are children and animals in the house. You have to take yourself off somewhere where you won't be disturbed. And I know it's not easy. My children are older now, obviously, but Eric, I can't do it when I'm in the room with Eric. You have to take yourself off to somewhere where you know you won't be disturbed. It's not the end of the world if you are interrupted, but it can leave you feeling very fuzzy, very lightheaded, very disjointed. You need to ground yourself properly and make sure that you have disconnected yourself from the other worlds. Jane, if you fall asleep during hedge riding, would it be wise to write down everything you might have dreamt in case it's connected at a deeper level? Absolutely, absolutely. If you have fallen asleep and you are still in the other world, there could be other things that are going on. Just make sure once you wake up that you ground yourself properly and make sure that you haven't, just left yourself a bit in there. Hannah, better to find a time to do it when you're not tired. I do meditate before I go to sleep, and sometimes I fall asleep with it. I wouldn't hedge ride just before I went to sleep. It needs a bit more focus. Yes, Sephora, image of hedge riding on the loo with the door locked. I have meditated in there before now. I think the best time would be last thing at night or dawn to hedge ride, like meditation. Dawn, yes. Evenings, yes. Last thing at night, not if you're tired. You need to be focused to be able to do this. But again, it has to be a time that works for you. So well done. Battlestar Galactica, jumping. Do give it a try. Remakes are irritating. Sometimes they get the formula bang on. Highly recommend it. Oh, okay. I'll give it a look. Thank you. Yeah, meditation is difficult with Colleen standing on my legs and squidging me with her claws. Jane's cat. Yes, and being interrupted with dog barks. Not good. Not good. So the journey bag, very useful. I find it. You might have heard about flying ointments. There is a blog on my personal blog about flying ointment. It is in my Garden Magic book as well. They did actually exist. They were usually made from all sorts of nasty and fairly lethal ingredients, such as deadly nightshade. Personally, I would avoid them. Really not worth the chance. Instead of a flying ointment, you could use an incense blended with herbs that correspond to contacting the other worlds and to aid with your psychic abilities. I would lean towards that rather than a flying ointment. You'll often find you meet animal guides there. I think they're quite important in hedge riding. They can help you navigate the other side of the hedge. In my experience, you don't choose your animal guide, it chooses you. Don't be surprised if your hedge riding guide is different from your usual power animal. Mine is. My normal power animal for most adventures is my wild boar. When I go to the other world, it's a black panther. Got a hair in my mouth. So yeah, I didn't choose him. He just turned up. On the first time that I did the journeying to the other world, he turned up. So I'll get this in a sec. There we go. Sorry. Yes, so you will often find that you are met by an animal guide that will help you navigate the other world. Be open to whatever comes your way. You might find that a different animal greets you for each journey. You might find it's the same one. I have the same black panther that comes back each time. Never says a word, never communicates, very silent, but guides me where I need to go. You might find that your spirit guide for the other world, for your hedge riding journeys, turns out to be human form. So be open to that as well. So before we get too far close to the end, I need to talk to you about the 3 realms, because that's very important. Let's just catch up on these. Maria making biscuits, yum. Emma, my Bobby cat, when he was alive, enjoyed meditation, but when journeying, he'd leave me be. I think he just knew. He was very sensitive to what I was doing and what he could join in with. Cats generally do pick up on it all. Colin hates the American remake of The Wicker Man. I have not seen it. It's too scary. Eva, there's an interesting journey in J&C Matthews' Walkers Between the Worlds, in which you are instructed to fall asleep to get the message. That's journeying. Journeying's slightly different. Just be mindful of what you're doing and grounding afterwards. You don't want to leave part of yourself in the other worlds. Morning, Tess. Love the kitchen dresser. Thank you. From a charity shop. Secondhand from a charity shop. Hannah, it's the cryptic messages you get that you have to figure out afterwards. Yes, that's where a notebook comes in handy. If you write down everything, what you saw, what you smelt, what you heard, write it all down, and then it will hopefully make sense at some point in the future. Maria, could just stand outside in my garden and inhale whoever's smoking weed. Would hedge ride for about a week. That's unfortunate. Debbie, I did an aided journey and the lady with me tied a ribbon to a chair leg and I held the other end. My route home. Interesting. Like it? Yeah. Jane, Sandra respects my need for peace and quiet. Again, Jane's cat. Colin doesn't give her monkeys. Typical cat. So I need to talk a little bit about the 3 realms. So I've mentioned the upper world, the middle world, the underworld. There are 3 levels. So the underworld, we can access all 3 of these worlds when you go on a hedge riding journey. I tend to use the tree of, like a tree of life. So you've got the branches, the trunk, and the roots. That's the beginning of my hedge riding, is to visualize that tree. You can enter at any of those points. You can enter any of those worlds. It doesn't have to be a tree. It can be whatever you visualize. You might go down a tunnel that splits into 3 different directions. I wrote a blog once about As It's a Kitchen Witch, about it being a kitchen hearth with a cooker. You might enter different doors in the cooker. It has to be a visualization that works for you to send you into these different directions. It has to be a portal into the other worlds. I like to use a tree because it kind of makes most sense to me. So the underworld, or the lower world, is the underworld, is Hades, is Tir na Nog, is Helheim. It is often referred to as a dark, deep, fiery hell pit. It isn't. It really isn't. Can be seen as darker, perhaps, to the middle world. Sometimes it can be pictured as a cave or primordial. I think it has got that kind of primordial feel to it. There are dangers in the underworld, but you can meet them in the other worlds too. But the underworld is earthy. It's stable. It's grounding. It's the base from which everything else grows. You can meet your ancestors there. You can meet your animal guides, your plant spirit guides. There are underworld kings and queens there. The fairy realm is found there as well. If you are experienced in hedge riding, or if you are working with a shamanic practitioner to do soul retrieval, that's done in the underworld. So that's the roots, that's under the tree. The other next place up is the middle world, or earth, Midgard. It is very much like our own. You'll find buildings, houses, cities, country, looks very, very similar to the world that we live in. It's filled with good spirits as much as bad, so again, be wary. You'll find earth and fertility deities here. You will find the elementals here. Messenger deities often greet you in the middle world. Nature spirits and the wild hunt is in the middle world as well. But it will often look very much like the world that we're living in now. It is earth, basically. And then in the branches, you have the upper world, you have Avalon, you have Asgard. The world is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Think dreamy clouds, beautiful landscapes, sparkling streams, everything there is amazing. This is a place to meet your spirit guides. If you work with angels or ascended masters, you will find them there. Deity is there. You'll also find some of the animal guides there as well. It is a spiritual plane. It is a place of enlightenment. You'll find knowledge, inspiration, ideas, wisdom, everything there. It's an interesting place. It can help you see yourself from a different perspective when you go into that upper world. So there are the three worlds, and that's essentially what a hedge witch does when they ride the hedge. They will climb over the hedge and then into one of these three worlds. Sometimes you'll find you're drawn to go in one world specifically. Other times your animal guide might lead you to take one of them. This is where going there for a reason is important. You don't just want to wander into one of those other worlds just to chill out. Jane says, sometimes snippets of information continue to filter through in a day or two following a journey. Hedge riding is exactly the same. You'll go on your journey, you'll come back, you'll write down your notes, but you'll find that for a few days afterwards, other things pop into your head or things will catch your attention. It's about being mindful. It's about being open to other messages afterwards. Absolutely. Hi, Melody. Karen, I go through a cave and come out into a wood. Brilliant. But then you have to select your three worlds for hedge riding. It is about taking one of those choices, one of those portals, whether it's the lower, the mid, and the upper. That's why a tree works quite well. You can often, a tunnel works quite well because then it can split off into the three worlds and you are drawn to one of them. Jane, flue powder, green glitter, is sold in little pots in some stationer type shops. It would make a good addition to a pouch. Absolutely, I like that idea. Hannah, I went to the upper world once, but all I got was a blue square. Then I would think you weren't ready or there were no messages for you. The other worlds know what they're doing. Be guided by what they present you with. Sometimes you're not supposed to be there, basically. They're clever. They know far more than us. Colin did a painting based on the meditation entry to the Summerlands. Excellent. Karen uses the tree for journeying into the realms. It's quite a traditional way to do it. I think it works very well because you have those three different areas that make sense. The roots are the underworld, the trunk is middle earth, hobbits. The top, the branches are the upper world, the divine. So it kind of, for a visual representation, it makes perfect sense. But you have to go with what works for you, really. You have to be able to visualize it. If the visualization of a tree isn't working for you, then you're not going to get very far. Like anything, it has to be right. It does have to be right. Now, I did my initial training with this was with Gavin Bone and Janet Farrar on one of their courses. That's what sort of took me into travelling to the other worlds. And I have been hooked on it ever since. There are times when I do struggle, and it was the tree that I was struggling with, and I couldn't make that connection. I would enter the tree and fall into a black hole, and I would end up nowhere. And then I realised that it wasn't quite working for me at that point in my journey. So I had to look for something different. And as a kitchen witch, that's where it took me to a different way of working with it. I meditated initially to find another avenue. The first image that appeared was an apple tree. Couldn't find any gateways though. Then I got the image of a big wooden chair, like one of the old big kitchen chairs. I sat in it. There was a terracotta stone floor. There were, it was warm. The ceiling was hung with herbs. It was very stereotypical kitchen witch image. The chair was in front of a big cast iron range, big roaring fire in it. That set the scene for me. That was my comfort scene. I sat and I watched, and the doorways to the other rooms revealed themselves to me. The lower realm was the tray at the bottom where the ash falls. It was all dark and dusty. The middle world revealed itself via the oven. The doors to the oven opened. The upper world was through the chimney, the smoke that goes up through the ceiling. It was the image, the vision that I needed at the time to offer me doorways into the other world. Since then, I have gone back to using the tree because that, air pathway changes, energy levels work in different ways. But at the time, that worked for me. It was how I found my way back to it. So it has to work for you, and it doesn't really matter what that image is, but it has to be something that you are familiar with, something you're comfortable with, but a doorway into those three worlds. Lost my mouse. Sephora. I know I'm a long way from this still, but it sounds fascinating. Wondering if I will ever do this as a solitary. Absolutely. Just as long as you're experienced with, I'd work with meditation first, then I would move on to path working and journeying, and then on to hedge riding. If you can work a bit of astral travel in before then as well, that helps with recognizing it. Jane, I like to go through a door into the side of a hill. It's got stone walls inside with flaming torches in sconces. I need to add some stairs going up and down and see where they lead. That would work very well. Stairs would work very well, absolutely. Hannah, I walk into a hollow tree, through a door for middle, down a tunnel for lower, and up spiral stairs for upper. Perfect. It has to work for you. It has to be an image that works for you, that you feel connected to. Just when you come back out, just remember to ground properly. It's really, really important to do it. You don't want to leave yourself ungrounded because your energies will be all over the place. It's interesting. It's very interesting to do. It's very useful. Just make sure you have a purpose. Make sure that you have a way in and a way out. And an animal guide to take you through it is always really, really helpful because you have that other support with you. Yep, Hannah says, if you are worried, find a guided shamanic group to give you confidence. If you are new to this whole pathway, I would wait until you are more experienced. You need to know how to bring yourself back out. You need to know how to deal with whatever it is that you might meet in there, because there are all sorts in there. But if you have got, it is very similar to shamanic journeying, different name, I guess. I always wondered, actually, what is hedge riding? I always wondered why we then used a tree. I have worked with using the hedge, and I have worked with climbing under the hedge. going into the centre of the hedge and literally jumping over the top of the hedge. That works very well as well. It's just the idea that it's a liminal space that separates us to the other worlds. Leslie, I can control my dreams. I wake up, I can go straight back into them. Is that journeying? That's lucid dreaming. Never tried to journey, so I'm not sure why I can do this in my dreams. What you're describing is lucid dreaming. Being able to control and go straight back into your dreams where you left off is different. That is lucid dreaming. Fascinating subject as well. If you worked with lucid dreaming, you could try moving on to astral travel, Leslie, because that's quite interesting. Jane, hedges contain trees more often than not. Yeah, that's true, I guess. My tree that I go into is a big oak tree, though. Hedges I think of as smaller, but yeah, hawthorn and all the interesting kind of elder trees and things, aren't they? Yeah, interesting. It is just a way of describing that liminal space about crossing to the other worlds. So basically, that's hedge riding. Stepping into the other worlds with a purpose, with a question, or to seek healing advice or connect with a specific guide. I say I do it quite a lot to connect with the plant spirit guides. Yeah, it's interesting. It's fascinating. If you are unsure, wait until you are with someone that knows what they're doing, what they're talking about. But it is, it's all good. It's all good. Debbie, in my Zoom shamanic group, we walk by a hedge to get together the tree. Access Monday. Yeah, hedge is part of my route, and I'll climb over a star sometimes to get there. I admire you for being able to do it on Zoom. I really struggle with meditations via Zoom with other people. It doesn't work for me. I need to be on my own. But yes, if you can do that, then brilliant. Leslie, my dad could astral travel. It terrified him. I've been told I have the ability. If you're lucid dreaming, then astral travel is the next step, Leslie. So I would, give it a go. Little Miss Nemo, witchery and paganism in general needs a strong personal core because we're all our own priestesses, even if lots of people work in groups. So building up experience is vital. Yeah, absolutely. You wouldn't take one driving lesson and then go and drive a truck, would you? Well, I would hope you wouldn't. There is no shortcut to experience in anything, and particularly in this. I'm just trying to think. I would probably been walking this pathway for about 10 years when I first started hedge riding. So it is about being sensible and mindful that there is a lot of power in what we do. So it is about being responsible, really. Debbie, I went to a workshop with spiritualistic group to learn transmeditational healing. Everyone there saw people. I saw animals. Animals better than people, generally. Debbie, they told me I was more shamanic. There are many shamanic practices within witchcraft. I think when you think of shamans, you kind of think of an archetype. We had shamans in ancient Britain, as well as, most cultures had shamanic practitioners of some sort. Hedge riding is very shamanic. We're back to labels again, aren't we? We are back to labels. Shamans do tend to work more with animals and plant spirits, I guess. It's labels, isn't it? Good analogy. One driving lesson and truck driving. Yeah, I've done both. Driving a great flatbed truck through London is not fun. And I would not have done it on my second driving lesson. Jane, so glad I didn't go into hedge riding lightly when I was a newbie witch, but I didn't know it existed then. I'm more than ready for it now. Oh, Jane, you are more than ready for it now. Absolutely. You can do it, no problem at all. I think it's like a lot of things. It is whenever you're new to something, and I remember starting my witchcraft journey a million years ago when dinosaurs roamed the earth. My son would tell me off because humans didn't live at the same time as dinosaurs. But anyway, you want to do everything. You want to rush in and do anything. Enjoy the journey. You need to gain experience for some areas of it. It's like anything. You do need to gain that experience. I don't want to put people off or scare people, but you need to have that experience to know how to deal with what's there and how to keep yourself safe, really, and stop yourself from feeling yucky or, ungrounded, something like that. Yeah, one of those things. So it is an interesting subject. There are some good books on it out there. I say, if you're a student in Kitchen Witch School, we do teach it in one of the lessons as well, and we support you with it. So, interesting subject, definitely interesting subject. Jane says joining a psychic development circle is a great help. Yeah, and again, we teach that at Kitchen Witch as well. It's all about building your skills so that you are ready to deal with whatever's thrown your way, really. But then we learn by our mistakes as well, so it's all part and parcel of it. So thank you, everyone, for joining me. One of my favourite subjects, one of my favourite things to do. Do join me next Saturday for the book launch. It's going to be a blast, as always. You're very welcome, Jane. If anyone's got any questions, do ping me. I'm happy to answer them. Other than that, have a fantastic rest of the week and take care, and I will see you all soon.